Hi, I'm Becky Johnson with Sweetheart Quilt Design Company, and today we're going to talk about making a 24-inch decorative pillow. So when I make a quilt for my bed, I like to make two pillows cases like this, which this is the hot dog pillowcase recipe. Anyway, there's a YouTube video for that. And then I make a decorative pillow for the center. And this works real nice on a king, or you can condense it a little for a queen or a double. So what I do a lot of times is I make an extra block or pick out my favorite block or whatever from the quilt, and then I'll frame it in. This particular quilt had this on it, so I went ahead and duplicated that and then added some borders. And then for the back, you can buy extra fabric, or this time I had a little bit left over, so I used one of the prints with the fabric. All right, and then over here, I've got another example for it. So I did a couple of hot dog pillowcase covers, and then I did the center one with a block that I liked. And I did a little bit of extra stuff with that, but essentially you need to end up with a 24.5-inch square. All right, let me move some stuff out of the way and we'll get started here. So the first thing you want to do is from the fabric that you're going to use for the back, you want to cut a 24.5-inch width of fabric. So I've already cut mine. You can see there. Now, when normally I'm a real proponent of just using your rulers to measure, but on something like this where it's big and it doesn't have to be exact like when you're doing a quilt, a lot of times I'll use my mat. So I'll lay it out like this and make sure I'm parallel to the lines, cut it straight here, and then lay my ruler on and cut my 24.5. All right, then the next thing we want to do, and I've got a sheet that covers all these numbers. So I'm just going to fold it like this. And again, I'm going to lay it, make sure I'm straight. I need two 16.5-inch pieces that are 24.5 inches wide. So I turn my fabric the other way. So I've got this folded. That's my 24.5. I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. Get rid of my selvage edges. And then I'm going to come over here. I need 16.5. So I'm lining up a line on the 16 or the 16.5. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Now, on this particular one, the blocks for this quilt are a little smaller. So I just cut a piece of fabric and I'm framing it with the same fabric as my back. So I need 4.5-inch, 24.5-inch wide strips for my top and bottom. So I'm just, since I already have this nice piece at 24.5 and I've got enough left over, just barely, to do my 4.5-inch strips. So there's my top and bottom on my block. All right. Now, what we need to do is hem two sides of this. No, one side of each piece. So my shortcut way to do this is to take this and fold it down about 3/8 of an inch and then just press it. Go easy on the steam here before I burn my fingers. All right, and once I've got that pressed down, then I'm just going to fold it again. Like that. Okay. And then I can just stitch that down very easily. Easy way to get it straight and not have to pin and all that stuff. So All right, so we'll just stitch these down quickly. And you can just edge stitch it. You want your thread to blend with your fabric because this will show on the outside. So red probably wouldn't be a good color for this. I call that my really fast way to hem. All right, so that's all you have to do to prep the back. Super easy. Might give it a press real quickly. All right. Now, so what I was talking about with the front, I've got a sheet here, and this explains what I just did with the back, and then it talks about the front. So you need a 24.5-inch square for the front of your pillow. So here's an example. So say your block starts at 12.5 inches square. So we've got 12.5 times 12.5. So we decide we're going to add a border, a first border that's 2 inches. So we're going to multiply that times 2 because we're going to put 1 on each side of it. So that gives us 4 inches. And then I make notes to myself. So cut 2.5 times 12.5. So that's going to go on the sides. And then cut 2.5 times 16.5, because once I add the 4 inches, it's going to measure 16.5. All right, so then the top of the pillow top is 16.5 inches square. So then I need to go all the way up to 24.5, so that's 8 inches. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. So we're going to do 2 4-inch borders, one for each side. So that's 8. And again, I made myself a note, cut 2 4.5 times 16.5, because that's where we're at for the sides, and then cut 2 4.5 times 24.5 for the top and the bottom. Because once we sew the sides on, like this, we sew the sides on, then we're at 24.5, so we need that to be 24.5. And then that'll get us our 24.5-inch pillow top. So I'm going to put these on. I'll just put a couple of pins in here just because it's pretty long to hold it in place. Make sure my edges are even. You always want to get those fabric and keep them even, otherwise you'll sew a real narrow seam and your seam can fray out. Okay. So I'm just going to stitch this with the scant 1/4-inch seam, just like we're used to in quilting. Okay, and then I'll just go ahead and sew them, and then we'll be right back to iron them. Okay, then after you've got your 24.5 inch square made for the top, then you want to lay it down right side up. Then you're going to take your 2 pieces and put them on top of this so that you have right sides together. And you want to put the top piece on first. So if your piece is directional, I know this has got suns going both ways, but I kind of thought of the center one as the right side up. So this is the top. So I'm putting the top one on first. And I had trouble thinking this through when I first started making these pillows. But that way the top piece is on the outside, which is the way you want it. Okay, so my hem is in the middle. And then I'm going to put the other one so the edges are even down there with the hem in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it together. Just, you know, every 6 inches or so. And then when you get to where they overlap, I always like to pin into that so it doesn't shift or anything. Make sure your edges are together so you don't end up with accidental holes because your seam allowance is too small. And I like to put my pins in so that they stick out to the outside like this. Because if you do that, then you can pull them out real easily when you're sewing. If you put them in the other way, so that they're in this way, then you can see if they're outside, you can just pull them out. But if they're inside, then you're kind of like that. You want me to do that again? Anyway, so I always make sure that they stick out past the edge of the fabric. All righty. All right, we're gonna sew around the outside edge here. We're again gonna use our scant 1/4 inch seam. We're just gonna start in one corner and go all the way around. And I just start at the edge. I still haven't broken the habit of stitching over pins. However, I did come up with a good reason one time, but I shouldn't share this with anyone, but I will anyway. If you run out of bobbin and you haven't already taken the pins out, then you don't have to go back and repin it. Anyway. All right, stop with your needle down. You can do the corner. All right, this is number 4. Okay, and I just crisscross them at the end. Alrighty. Get these pens out of here so I don't poke myself. All right, and then you want to just clip the corners, not too tight, but just to take some of the bulk out of the corner when you turn it. Oops. And there we go. So then all we have to do is turn it right side out. And what I do for the corners, I just take a straight pen and very, very gently pull that out. You can also use things, there's a little thing called the purple thing. You have to say it right though. The purple thing. That's good for poking out corners like this too. Probably a little safer than the pen idea. All right. And we're just going to press it. I just kind of grab the fabric right next to the fold, and then I can pull it out like this. Work my way around. This angle seems to work better for me. This is where the overlap is. Okay, and there we have it. All right, like that. And then all you have to do is kind of pull this piece back, put your pillow in there, make sure the corners go all the way in, and then you can pull this up, put the pillow into the top, and voila. You have a nice decorative pillowcase to go with your hot dog, pillowcases. And if you don't want, I find that this side, this looks really nice with the hot dog pillowcases. But if you wanted to do 20.5 or 22.5, you could do that. Just change your math to the smaller size, and that'll work fine. Okay, great. Thanks a bunch.